All right, welcome back. Just before the break, we had launched the Honorable Minister for State for Petroleum Resources, Timipre Sylva, is joining me from Abuja. Good evening to you, Honorable Minister, and welcome to the program. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, good evening, Nancy. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you loud and clear. Welcome from the meeting, OPEC Plus meeting. Speak to me in just a few minutes. Okay, let me just give you 1 minute to encapsulate what has been happening in the last few days for OPEC Plus. What's been happening?
It's been a grueling last few days, Nancy. On Thursday, OPEC Plus met for about 10 hours, but we couldn't come to any agreement because Mexico, a member of OPEC Plus, had some issues and needed to do additional consultation. And of course, OPEC decisions are based on total everybody agreeing. So we had to adjourn, and then today we came back again, and I'm happy to announce to you that we were able to get an agreement today.
Okay, what was the agreement? Because just a few days ago, like yesterday or 2 days ago, we're hearing about 10 million barrels production cut and all of that. So expatiate what the agreement was all about.
Yeah, you know, COVID-19, while it is eating off on the health side, has also eaten off demand for oil. You know that planes are not flying, cars are not moving around globally. So demand for oil collapsed. And because of that, the price of oil collapsed as well. So what we needed to do on this side was to try to rejig the supply side to ensure that we're able to shop the prices. So we met and we agreed today. OPEC and OPEC Plus agreed to cut 9.7 million barrels of crude oil from the supply side. And America was also, the US was also very magnanimous. They accepted to take another 300,000 barrels on behalf of Mexico, which brings the total cut to 10 million barrels. This is an unprecedented move, and we believe that this will help to stabilize crude oil prices.
Now, how do you think that the stabilization will come with this 10 million barrels per day cut from OPEC Plus? Because we're seeing the price of Brent crude, which Moneyline is benchmarked against, in the 30s now. With the meeting that was just concluded a few hours ago, where do you see the price?
Well, it's a simple demand and supply dynamics. I mean, if your supply outstrips demand, of course, prices will come down. In the last few days, of course, because of COVID-19, there was no demand. So supply outstripped demand and prices collapsed. Now we are trying to see how we can reduce demand. I mean, we are trying to see how we can cut down on the supply side to balance the situation, and we believe that this is going to definitely lead to higher crude oil prices because the supply side will be a little bit more controlled now.
I spoke to the GMD of NNPC just a few days ago, and he announced when I spoke to him that Nigeria, at that day we were speaking just a few days ago, that we have started producing 2.3 million barrels per day of crude oil. With this OPEC Plus meeting that was just concluded, what are the implications for us? How many barrels per day would we be producing? Bearing in mind that we have budget deficit, we need money now to even fight COVID-19. We need money to augment our budget. Where is the money going to come from, and what are we going to be producing as a result of this meeting?
Well, if you produce 2.3 million barrels per day and sell at $10 per barrel, that will really mean nothing to you. But in this situation, if you're able to produce 1.7 million barrels per day and you are selling at $40 per barrel, it will amount to more for the country. That is what the cut implies. Before now, the crude oil prices really went down, so it didn't make any difference whether you were producing 2.3 or 2.5 million barrels. You got almost nothing for it. Plus the fact that most producers could not even sustain their production costs, so it was becoming a problem. But with this cut, we believe that the prices will stay between $35 to $45, and that will really be good for us because we've been able to rebase our budget, our benchmark to $30 oil, and we believe that if prices continue to stay above that, it will be good for our budget.
Do you think that the fundamentals of this oil market is still very, very strong? Bearing in mind that OPEC or OPEC Plus, we've been seeing this kind of topsy-turvy relationship between OPEC and some other allies such as Russia and the rest of them. We saw what happened, I think, last month in March, whereby Kremlin and the Saudi Arabians didn't come to a truce. That was why we saw the price of oil drop. How fundamental or how strong are the fundamentals of the oil market at this time, bearing in mind that we are also an OPEC member? We produce just around 2+ million barrels a day. Do you still foresee that this OPEC Plus thing is still relevant? Because I heard President Trump just say a few days ago that he cares less about OPEC.
Well, if that was the situation before now, everybody agrees now that more than ever before, we need to cooperate. You can see that for the first time, the U.S. was in favor of a cut of production, which has not happened before, because everybody saw the danger. I mean, job losses are staring them in the face. Everybody knows that a collapse of oil prices will not be good for any economy, including even the U.S. economy. So more than ever before, everybody has realized that we need to cooperate. COVID-19 has actually brought home the fragility of the world economy and also brought home the interconnectivity of the world. What happened in China a few days ago, which was so far away from us a few days ago, has become a reality. And we now realize that it will take collective effort of all of us to combat COVID-19. Even in the oil industry, this is what has come very clear to everybody, and that's why today we came together and there was no problem at all to arrive at a consensus and agreement.
Now, an average viewer watching us at home will be like, okay, the Honorable Minister for State for Petroleum Resources is on now. He's just attended OPEC Plus meeting. What is the ABC and XYZ of what he's saying? What are the larger implications for the Nigerian economy?
Well, the implication is that we believe that this agreement is going to lead to better oil prices. And if there are better oil prices, that will mean that we can achieve our budget aspirations better. And it will mean that the man on the street will feel the effect of government better. And government will be in a better position to actually fight the effect of COVID-19 as well.
Now, moving ahead, it's a double whammy for us, even as a country. Not just that oil prices are low, but we're also fighting the spread of COVID-19 pandemic in Nigeria. How do you think that we are able to walk around this, even as the oil minister right now? I can imagine the kind of conversations you'll be having with perhaps Mr. President, with your colleagues in finance, central bank governor, NNPC, GMD, and all of that.
Well, it's not an easy fix for us, but we believe that the only way we can contribute to the continued effort, the capacity of government to fight the COVID-19 pandemic is to help to shore up the price of oil, and which is what we have done in OPEC and OPEC Plus. And we believe that once the earnings of government improves, things will be better for Nigeria.
Honorable Minister, would you want to speak to the subsidy removal in the country, which the GMD and NPC announced just a few days ago, and the deregulation, because he also said that refineries will be handed over after rehabilitation. And the question is, why are we continuously having rehabilitation for our refineries? As much as I can remember, since I've been doing business, we've been turning around our refineries. What exactly is the problem?
Well, it's unfortunate, but, they say that if you continue to do the same thing and expect a different result, then there's something wrong with you. Before now, the problem was that, the refinery rehabs were done in a way that did not involve the original equipment manufacturers. But this time we are involving the original equipment manufacturers. And going down, we are also ensuring that government does not continue to manage these refineries, because government is not really equipped to manage refineries. So we want to rehabilitate these refineries and hand them to managers, to people, private people, to operate and manage these refineries on a commercial basis. And we believe that this is what is different that we are doing. But on the side of subsidy, what I like to say is that subsidy has never benefited the ordinary Nigerian. It has continued to benefit only the elite. So what this has done, now that we've taken our subsidy, it will free up to 2 trillion naira per annum for investment in infrastructure, which is definitely going to better the lives of Nigerians.
Okay, then the question about this refineries issue is that when are we hoping to see it? Is there a timeline that the government has to turn around those refineries and hand them over? Because Dangote now his refinery will soon come in place. I can imagine that COVID-19 is slowing his activities too.
The more the merrier. I mean, what we want, the aspiration for us is to make Nigeria a net exporter of petroleum product. So if Dangote is refining and we're able to fix our refineries, well and good. Unfortunately, COVID-19 has delayed us, but we were expecting to start the rehabilitation of Port Harcourt refinery on the first quarter. But unfortunately, as you agree with me, we cannot start now. But we are hoping that as soon as COVID-19 abates a little bit, you will see work in the Port Harcourt refinery start immediately.
Okay. Minister, just before we go, because I have just like a minute with you or two, what else do you have to say? Is OPEC Plus going to be meeting again soon, even amid COVID-19? Because it's a double whammy. There's no demand, or demand is reduced. And what else again do you want to say as it concerns economic implications?
Well, we've cut down the supply. We want to watch the situation. This is a developing situation. COVID-19 is a living organism. I mean, it's caused by a living organism, a virus, so nobody can really predict. But of course, OPEC is meeting again in June to look at the situation again, to look at where we are, and then see what we're going to do. We have graduated it, but between May and June, Nigeria is going to cut down 417,000 barrels of crude oil production. From July, we will step down a little bit from 300 to 334,000 barrels per day. Then from December 2020 from January 2021 to April 2022, will cut down by 250,000 barrels. But of course, since it's a developing situation, we'll always be meeting regularly to assess the progress we are making globally.
Okay, thank you very much, Honorable Minister, for speaking with me. I know you're just coming out of the meeting just some moments ago, so thank you very much. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
All right, Oloyede, that's it. You've heard from the Honorable Minister of State for Petroleum Resources.
The big takeaway from that is that no nation can go it alone in this, whether it's health, whether it's economy. I think everybody has to work together. And I think that OPEC Plus meeting is just one, key example of why all nations need to work together to get out of the woods.
You know what I just remembered? The interview I had with Dr. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala on Friday or Thursday, she said, what is happening now is a global public bad. So we all need to make it a global